Hi everyone, I'm Brett Ullman and welcome to Parenting Navigating Everything, the channel where we equip and empower parents to navigate all aspects of parenting in this modern culture we live in today. To keep updated on new videos, please just click the subscribe link below. As I was researching my new talk for parents, I came across literally dozens and dozens of different parenting styles. What I want to do today is to go through all of these parenting styles. There's actually 42 that I found, and I want to kind of quickly tell you what each one is, and then you can see whether it's a style you should be doing or not doing. Most of the time it's actually not doing. There's a family counselor and author named Allison Schaefer who says this, what you'll find is that there are a lot less parenting styles than names to describe them, and I kind of agree. The first four are the main ones we will always talk about. They can actually be put onto this chart. One is kind of an axis of support and warmth, and the other is this control and demand, and then it's kind of each of those four things, and that's the four different main parenting styles. The first would be permissive. Parents take more of a role of friend than an actual parenting role. Parents don't really enforce rules. There is high support but very low demand for our kids. Number two would be uninvolved. Very little time or energy goes into meeting kids' basic needs, next to no guidance or nurturing, love, warmth, or attention. There is low support and low demand. Number three is authoritarian. This is kind of the parent we think of who kind of enforces and makes all the rules. There is kind of enforcement with little regard for the child's opinion or thought. And the focus here is on obedience, punishment over discipline, high expectations with low support, this high demand and no warmth. The fourth one is what we should be doing. It's called authoritative. This is the one where we have basically logical consequences. There are life lessons, positive relationships, can help enforce the rules as parents, high demand, high expectations, and then high support and warmth combined together. Now, the rest of these parenting styles are all really just parts of these four, and usually just combinations of a few of them. Number five is attachment parenting. And in 1993, this was introduced by Dr. William Sears. It is quite simply that our kids need to be attached to us before they go out into the world and attach to their peers. And if you read many books today, they talk about the problem of peer attachment, and then we don't have any parental attachment. Number six would be helicopter parenting. Researchers Foster Klein and Jim Fay coined this helicopter parent in 1990. These are the parents who hover like a helicopter over their child, dangerously close, never letting them gain any age-appropriate independence. Please don't do this. We also might talk about bulldozer parenting, rescue parenting, lawnmower parenting. These are parents who try to eliminate any obstacles their kids might encounter. I remember reading a story of a mom in New York City who was in front of her kid making sure no one would run into him as he walked behind on his phone playing a game. Please don't do this. Number 10 would be free-range parenting. This is seen as the opposite of helicopter parenting. Wikipedia says that free-range parenting is the concept of raising children in the spirit of encouraging them to function independently and with little parental supervision, in accordance with their age of development and with a reasonable acceptance of realistic personal risks. That's a really kind of big conversation and a big definition, but I kind of like parts of this parenting style, but if you take it too far, you risk falling into becoming that permissive or uninvolved parent. Number 11, slow parenting. This is very similar to free-range parenting. It is also sometimes called simplicity parenting. It's the idea that kids are allowed to explore the world at their own pace. This style of parenting puts quality ahead of quantity. It is the idea of presence, which I love, and living in the moment and making really deep, meaningful connections with your kids. I love most of this. I love the idea of kids exploring the world at their own pace, but this can also fall into dysfunction if we take it too far. There are age and stage conversations we need to have as well. So I don't mind this parenting style. Number 12, tiger parenting. In the book Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother, Amy Chow talks about this parenting style popular in Asia. This style believes that intellectual and academic success is paramount. Family psychologists talk a lot about nurture and boundaries or firmness and friendliness. We sometimes call this tough love, and kids have very, very little say in their lives and what they do, where they go, sometimes even in what they wear. Tiger is very similar to control parenting, which would be number 13. I would say a pure control parent is that authoritarian parenting style we began with. High demand with low support. Tiger parents are a little too much of a good thing. Control parenting, a little too much as well. Number 14 would actually be what we call jellyfish parents, which is an interesting term. We sometimes think of this as the opposite of a tiger parent. These parents have few, if any, rules and expectations of their kids. Parents who just give in to temper tantrums, give in to avoid confrontation, they lack any authority in the home, and are generally just overly permissive parents. Please don't be a jellyfish parent. Then there's number 15, which we'll call Christian or maybe spiritual parenting. Now, as a Christian, I do believe in this, but my concern is parents who seem to make this a priority at the expense of raising confident, responsible, caring, resilient, and use any other word you want here. Raising kids like this, who will then head off into society, is kind of the goal. Christian faith should affect all of life. Your worldview should affect your values, and your values should affect your actions. When it does not, then my concern is that Christian parenting is more focused on only one aspect of this child's development, their Christian faith, over all other aspects of their development, which are also needed. Number 16 is holistic parenting. Now, from Holistic Parenting magazine, they say, we believe that all aspects and practices of parenting are intimately interconnected to the family, community, and the environment. We view holistic parenting as an evolutionary journey of constant learning and celebrate that while we're on this journey together, as one community, all of our families are wonderfully unique. I like this. The truth is, though, holistic parenting is kind of a whole bunch of things put into one, and we just have to make sure we're still doing all aspects of parenting. Number 17 is a very interesting one. We call it a Disney dad. Now, I might even add in Disney mom, even though I think it's predominantly dads that I see. In the Urban Dictionary, they define it as this: a father who doesn't have physical custody of his child. So, to compensate for this, he makes the visitation times with his child all about fun. The child's homework isn't done, there isn't a set bedtime, and the child stays up late. The child watches all kinds of inappropriate movies, TV, video games. The father is more like a friend that's a bad influence than an actual parent, which he should be. This is something to watch out for in families with divorce, and I'm not saying that all divorced people are Disney dads or even Disney moms, as long as you're not. I do often hear from women, especially at my talks, talking about how their husbands or ex-husbands are these Disney dads. Now, this could also be Disney dads living in the home, not in a divorced place as well. Either way, don't do this. It's not helping your kids at all. Number 18 is kind of a weird one. We might just call it gifted parenting. Now, this is not gifted from an educational standpoint. It is some parents' beliefs that their child is unique. Rules don't apply to their kids because, and they give an excuse. Add in any of the hundreds of excuses that parents give. In the church world, we often add in excuses and we use spiritual language, which is hard to argue with. We do anything except hold the child accountable and responsible for the way that they are acting, behaving. And then what we say is that they are sick or they're struggling with something. There's always an excuse. And I get there are sometimes excuses, but not all the time. Please do not do this type of parenting. Number 19, companion parenting. The companion parent places this high relational, emotional expectation on their kids. This is where the child becomes a friend, someone to help the adult cope with their emotions and tough situations in life. And this can happen in a marriage relationship. Now, number 20 is where it often happens more in a single parent relationship. This is where it could also be a strained marriage, but we often see this conversation of in single parenting, and we need to kind of address those things as well. Number 21 is widowed parenting, and these are kind of similar, these last three. When a spouse has died, we sometimes watch kids fill in certain ways as that spouse. Now, I'm not talking about anything sexual here. I'm talking about more emotional and friend support. These are all kind of simple ideas, but are all kind of unique. Please don't do these types of parenting. Please don't, whether we're in a marriage relationship, in a single relationship, divorce relationship, whether we're in a widowed situation, do not place adult situations on our children. Number 22, ROI parenting, return on investment parenting. I was talking to a dad the other week at one of my talks about, they were talking about hockey tryouts, and he said that his kid really hates playing AAA hockey, which is one of the highest levels. But he said he will not let him quit because of all the time and money that he had spent on it over the years. The feeling that there should be some return on your investment in sports or gymnastics or dance, please do not be this parent. I have no issue telling your kids that they have to finish the season of rep volleyball or dance. If they just don't like it, fulfill your commitment for the year, but then they can stop. So don't be this kind of parent. Number 23, and yes, there's a lot of these, gut check parenting. Have you ever been to a grocery store or a mall and you hear a kid screaming or even hitting a parent, and they're having tantrums or their kids are fighting, and then once you turn the corner, the parent only then decides to deal with the situation? It only matters because you show up, not because the parent needed to teach their kids how to become responsible people in life. Please don't do this. Number 24, competitive parenting. It's all competition. We only talk about the good things in our kids' lives. We rarely share with others, other parents especially, the other stuff. We don't talk about how they're struggling with anxiety, broke up with a girlfriend or boyfriend, are having a tough time in math or English or French class, they got cut from the basketball team. We need our kids to be better than other people's kids, and that's just not true. Don't do this. Number 25, affectionless parenting. I hear often from teenage girls and sometimes boys that especially their dads have never told them that they love them. Please tell your kids you love them. Hug your kids. Give them affection. This should be an easy one, but for some reason it is not. So please don't be an affectionless parent. Please actually show our kids affection. Number 26, and you will have all heard this one, perfectionist parenting. You expect perfection from children, which is something children, well, and honestly, something none of us can actually ever live up to. We need to have actual expectations that are like sustainable and even just attainable, that we can actually do them. So please don't be a perfectionist parent. Number 27 is one of my favorite, just from a title. It's called Spaceship Parenting. These are parents who have a kid and then take off and never look back. They give a dangerous amount of freedom to their kids, and they're also absent in all aspects of their kids' lives, unaware of what's actually happening in their kids' lives. They're just incredibly disconnected. Don't do this. Number 28 is kind of like this, but we call it absent parenting. I would say I know parents who are absent parents who are actually not absent. You are physically there. We're not talking about someone who's working a lot and they're away. They're just home. Right? They've come home from work, but they're still not really emotionally available. Have you ever had a dinner and you finish the dinner and at the end you realize you've not actually had any conversation over the whole meal? Number 29, children leave home parenting. Parents, you should have a bond with your spouse. It's really important. It's the assumption that one day this kind of parenting style says that you and your spouse again will be alone when your kids grow up and move out, which is true. But it can be taken too far. I talked to a teenager the other year whose parents go on multiple trips each year without him and his siblings. They have never actually done a family vacation, but the parents go away 2 times a year, every year. Don't be this parent, but do grow your relationship with your spouse while you're having kids and while you're raising your kids. Number 30, only child parenting. Now, we can very quickly generalize that everyone who comes from an only child situation, which means one kid, this is about 20%, by the way, of all homes today. We can't just stereotype and generalize, because not all kids who are only children are spoiled, which is what we would usually say, but some are. There is at least some truth to this. A single child family is different and comes with differing challenges as parents. There are entire books written about this. Now, we can also do the same things with 2 or 3 or more kids in a family, but just be aware if you have only one child of how you're parenting. Number 31, we're getting there. 3/4 10. Sibling-raised parenting. This is where your other kids are taking on roles that an adult should actually have. And it's just not fair to the kids being raised by a sibling or the kid actually raising a sibling. Please don't do this. If you're a parent, be a parent. I am not saying that we can't use our other kids to babysit if they're older, to be involved in life of their siblings. I'm just saying they shouldn't be raising kids. Number 32, and I see this one a lot, jaded parents parenting. Some of us have just gotten older and jaded with all aspects of life. Please don't cause a jaded kid by your jaded view of life. I don't think I need to talk more about this. Basically, don't do it. Number 33 is called Adlerian Parenting. If you follow Alison Schaefer, which I would encourage you to do, she's a big proponent of this. It's based on the work of Alfred Adler. He was a philosopher and a psychiatrist who believed that children have two basic needs: to belong and to feel significant. I have no problem with this. But if you only ever talk about belonging and being significant, it could become dysfunctional. But I do like the idea of making sure that our kids feel that they belong and that they're significant as well. 34 is a problem in society today. We might call this trophy kids parenting. Parenting is not a sport. And our children are just not trophies to be shown off to other parents. No performing, perfecting, comparing, or competing is necessary. Now again, there's some crossover with this, with competitive parenting, but it's the idea of putting forth our kids as trophies to other people. Number 35. Vanity parenting. Again, this is similar to the trophy kids. Author Carl Pinkert says this: it is when parents look to their child to bring them credit in the eyes of the world. When they push their child to reflect well on themselves, they are at risk of vanity parenting or using the child's performance to embellish their own. Please don't do this. Dolphin parenting. I think this is basically authoritative parenting, the one we said at the beginning that we need to be. Dolphin parents are the balance of these extremes. They're collaborative and have rules and expectations, but they also encourage interdependence and creativity and just independence. Like the dolphin, they're firm and flexible, which I don't know if dolphins are firm and flexible, but this is what they say. They're firm and flexible and use their community to nurture their child's nature, and I like that. Toxic parenting. Now, this is about you as a parent. This could be addictions, affairs, abuse, so many other things here. Abuse could be physical, emotional, sexual, religious, and the list goes on. No toxic parenting, please. Please deal with what's going on in your own life, because if not, that will affect our kids. Almost there. Number 38, overparenting. You are doing things that you need to let your child do to allow them to grow. Overparenting is when we are so uncomfortable watching our kids fail or get hurt. We just shield them from the consequences. And in that, we're actually doing them harm. We're paralyzing them from growing up properly. This is one of the most problematic parenting styles I see today. Please do not overparent. Number 39, inside-out parenting. Karen Gordon talks about this in her book, Analyze Your Teen. She talks about how we need to look at what our kids are like on the inside instead of looking at just their mistakes, the outside. We all make mistakes. Please make sure we look at what's on the inside over what is on the outside. Number 40, presence parenting. I see this as actually being around for your kids. It's the idea of presence. Be present, not only there physically in their lives, but in the moments that are happening, and then actually be there emotionally as well. I like the idea of presence. We'll notice as you look at, as your kids get older, there's less and less time to spend with them. So make sure the time you are with them counts. Number 41, fear-based parenting. I was at a talk a few months ago and talked about how my daughter took the train. I live just outside of Toronto in a town called Ajax, and her and her friend took the train into Toronto for the day. They went out for dinner and went to a couple places, and they had a great time. And a mom said to me how my daughter might have been murdered. It was a very weird conversation, and I didn't really know how to reply. And as we're having this conversation about my daughter could have been murdered, her daughter walked up and said how scared she would be to go to Toronto because because, and her mom and her, like, the girl didn't hear this part of the first part of the conversation. The girl said, I'd be scared to go downtown because, like being murdered. Listen, I'm not making joke of murder. It happens in life, but the idea that the world, every time someone goes out, is being murdered is just fear. If you tell your kids that the world is scary, it becomes scary. If you tell your kids that getting a driver's license is scary because there's too many cars, then they're going to probably be scared to get their driver's license. These choices become these limited realities for our kids in fear-based homes. Fear-based parents say no as a default to almost everything. So I would have this is kind of a gut check here. Anytime you say no, ask yourself, why am I saying no? This parenting style should be avoided at all cost. No fear-based parenting. And 42, positive parenting. I like this. We need to be positive for our kids. I don't get that there's an entire parenting paradigm based on positivity, but to quote the band REM from many decades ago, we're not always shiny, happy people. We also need to deal with our kids with grief and with situations in life. Everything's not just always happy. Well, that's 42 parenting styles, and there are some other ones as well. Now, I wonder if some of these other ones are less parenting styles and more just situations we find ourselves with as parents. What about special needs parenting? What about parenting if you, kind of like I do, struggle with mental health? How do you help still be a parent even through your struggles? Now, let's just take a second as we close. There is so much here. I know that. You might need to go through this again, and it's on YouTube. It's easy to do that. Just move the little slider across and start it again. Maybe write down a few things you want to do better. If you have a few seconds, I would love to hear what parenting styles you see in your own life, whether they're positive or negative. And are there any styles that I missed? Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.